Hello, it's Marcin from INSGrass. In this video I will show how to export Quixel Megascans to Blender and use them with working LODs with INSGrass scattering add-on. First I will give a short introduction to Quixel Bridge. I will explain how to get free access to all its assets and how to set it up to export plants models to Blender. Then I will show how to fix plants materials created by Quixel Exporter to work well in Blender. In this part I will show right and wrong way of adding Translucency shader, and I will discuss circumstances in which you may consider using the wrong way. I will also explain how to set up imported assets to use them with INSGrass scattering add-on and have working LODs. At the end I will show how to create presets for INSGrass, which you will be able to use in all your projects. Okay, let's start. Quixel Megascans is a huge library of high-quality game-ready assets with LODs that you can get a full access to if you will get a license for Unreal Engine, what is free. All you need to do is install Epic Game Launcher, create an account on it, and install Unreal Engine. I'm in Epic Launcher now. To install Unreal Engine, I choose Unreal Engine from menu, go to Library, and add Engine version. It will add the latest one by default, but you can change it in this menu. Since Unreal requires a lot of space on your hard drive, you can install only essential elements and then uninstall it if you don't plan to use it. The license will still work. Installing core components for version 5.3 will require to download 15.3 GB of data. You may consider installing version 4.27, which will download only 6.42 GB. On this page you can read what are the terms of using Quixel assets in other software than Unreal Engine. As the highlighted text says, you may use other tools at various stages in your pipeline as long as the final product is in Unreal Engine. So if you want to use Quixel assets with Blender in commercial use or show your work to a wider audience, you should buy a subscription plan. Here's an advice what to do if you would like to use Quixel assets in Unreal Engine and some other software. At the bottom you can read that it is the best to have two separate accounts for Unreal and for subscription plan. After installing Quixel Bridge and creating account on it, there are a few things that needs to be set up here. First, you need to define a folder where Quixel assets will be stored on your computer. You will also need to download a Blender plugin to be able to export assets from Bridge to Blender. Now I will jump to free section. Assets from here do not require installing Unreal Engine to download them. I will be exporting this ribbon grass to Blender. This window allows to set texture size for download. I will stick with 4K. Now let's see what's in download settings. In textures section you can choose what type of texture you want and in which format it will be downloaded. I have chosen most important ones like albedo, what is color, roughness, specular, normal. Bump and cavity aren't needed here, but why not to have them? Opacity is important. Fuzz is sheen in Blender, but it won't be downloaded as same as thickness and transmission, because there was no such textures created for this asset. I will download Translucency just for showcase purpose. And unique maps per LOD when available option is enabled. In model section you can choose which LODs to download and in which file format they should be. I have everything set, so I will hit download button. You can see progress of your download in downloads queue. Ribbon grass is here, so export button has appeared in right bottom corner of this window and in upper right corner of asset thumbnail. Let's go to files to see what we have downloaded. In the main folder there are 6 versions of this asset and every one of them has 4 LODs. The last LOD is a billboard, what means a flat plane with grass picture on it. In textures folder we can see pictures that were available for download for this asset from all that I have chosen in download settings. Those in Atlas folder are for 3D models, while billboard contains textures for flat planes. So everything is in this folder and I could just import every FBX file from here to Blender and create material for it. But Quixel Bridge export option will speed up entire process despite all of its limitations. I will set export options now. Export target is Blender, what is correct. In 3D plants section all needed textures are selected. In models section option to export all LODs for 3D plants is turned on, but Bridge will export only highest LOD from those that are selected. In this case it will be LOD 0. I will also need to fix naming, because there is no option to set it for Blender export. The last thing we need to export to Blender is to have Blender opened. Exported assets will appear in 3D cursor position. Now I will go to Preferences to set up INSGrass add-on. To create presets with assets from outside INSGrass, you need to set folders for saved presets and custom LODs. At the bottom there is an instruction showing proper naming for custom LODs files. Now I will jump to Quixel and press Export button. Communicate says exported successfully. In Blender I have new empty with only LOD0 models parented to it, and all of them are positioned in one place. Now I'm gonna create new collection with name created according to naming structure instructions. In this case it's Ribbongrass LOD0 and I will move Quixel assets to it. After that I delete empty object. Now I will change our assets naming by changing those strange prefixes to something uniform for all objects, like Ribbongrass. I will copy this part and paste it into the rest of the names. You can see that after those prefixes there is variation number. This part of name will let INSGrass know which models should be switched while changing LODs. I will also change mesh names so they will be consistent with object names. It is simple copy-paste operation. After this I will just spread those objects along y-axis so they won't be in one place. Now I will set scene view towards the sun to better see effects of setting translucent shader. Material created for this asset during export has everything set well except opacity and translucency textures. There's right and wrong way of adding translucency shader. First I will set it how it should be with use of add shader node because translucent BSDF is an additive shader. Now I will disconnect translucency texture from transmission socket and plug it into translucent BSDF. Plant is kinda glowing because translucency texture is very bright. I will darken it by decreasing value in hue saturation node. You can compare translucency with albedo texture with use of Node Wrangler preview ability. Now I will connect albedo texture with translucent BSDF and plug hue saturation node between them. So I can control intensity of translucency effect by controlling value slider in hue saturation node. Now I will set opacity to work well with such setup. I will plug in mix shader before shader output, replug entire node tree to second socket, and connect transparent BSDF with first socket. At the end I will disconnect opacity texture from alpha socket and use it as a mixing factor. You can see it worked well on render preview. For comparison, I will plug in albedo texture again to translucent BSDF. The difference is hardly noticeable and translucency texture will use RAM resources, so I will just delete it. Now I will show a wrong way of incorporating translucent shader, for what I will use mix shader node. I will plug principled BSDF into first socket, make some room for new setup, copy translucent BSDF, plug it into second socket and connect it with albedo texture. At the end I will switch the old setup with the new one. I could use mix factor to control translucency, but it is better to keep it at low value. This time I will use RGB curve to increase glow of translucency effect. To see why using mix shader node for incorporating translucency effect is wrong, I will show our plant from the side lit by the sun. If I will slide mixing factor to maximum, so I have only translucent effect here, it has this strange dark look. What is wrong? Now let's see how translucency works with add shader node. In this case I can only control this effect by value slider in hue saturation node, and increasing it makes the texture brighter, what makes material brighter, which is a desirable result. If I plug mix shader in again, you can see that shaded blades are darker and the color is a bit more intense. I like this look more, that's why I prefer to use wrong method over correct one. You may also consider using wrong method when you work with a plant which different elements have different translucency intensity, like this Lamium purpureum from INSGrass. In this case translucent shader is incorporated through mix shader node, and I have factor connected with red channel of packed texture, in which red channel is a translucency mask. If I preview it, you can see that leaves veins are quite dark, opened flowers are brighter than the closed ones, and a stalk is almost black, what means that it will receive almost none of translucency effect. If I will incorporate translucent shader through add shader node, you can see that veins details on the leaves are much less visible, opened and closed flowers have same amount of translucency, and the entire picture is less contrasty if I will compare it with mix shader again. If I will look at this plant from the side lit by the sun, it is visible again that add shader method gives more washed out colors than use of mix shader node. Okay, let's go back to Quixel export. So I will stick with wrong method of incorporating translucency. If I want this material to work with INS grass, I need to connect all textures with UV map node. Those plants uses UV channel 1, so I choose this one from a list. Now I connect this node with all textures. Just delete this translucency one. I will change end phrase of this material name to LOD0 and change its viewport display color. I like to have high LODs in some warm shade. Now I will move LOD0 models aside from 3D cursor, so they will not cover new Quixel export. At the end I will create new collection for LOD1 models. Now we can go back to Quixel Bridge and set settings for LOD1 export, what is only unchecking LOD0 in models section. So I hit export button, export is successful, and I go back to Blender. You can see that I have LOD1 models here, and I repeat entire procedure. So, delete empty and change front face of object names. After that I copy object names to its meshes. I have my naming done, and now I will spread LOD1 objects along y-axis. Now I change material of selected LOD1 object to previously created ribbon grass LOD0, make it a single user, change end face of its name to LOD1, select other objects in this collection and click copy material to selected. I will also change this material viewport display color to something else. I will move LOD0 and LOD1 objects aside from 3D cursor. At the end I will create new collection for LOD2 models import. And I go back to Quixel Bridge again to uncheck LOD1 model in export settings and hit export. Export is successful, so I go back to Blender. I have LOD2 models here, so I start known procedure again. So I have proper naming, objects are spread and moved aside from 3D cursor, material for LOD2 is set, and its viewport display color is changed. There is also collection created for last LOD3, which will be Billboards. But I have many duplicated textures in this file, because with every LOD export, Quixel Bridge have been exporting new set of textures. So I will switch outliner to orphan data mode and get rid of them now by using purge function. Then I go back to view layer mode, and you can see that I no longer have duplicates in this file. I will select LOD3 collection and go to Bridge. Here I just uncheck LOD2 and hit export. Billboards were exported with dedicated textures set. You can see how UVs differs for those flat planes and for 3D models. Okay, let's start our procedure one last time. I have naming done, objects are spread, and you can see how those pictures represent their corresponding 3D models. They have material created by Quixel Export, but this time it has billboard textures in it. So if I will turn the view towards the sun, it is visible that translucency doesn't work here. To fix this, I will replace this material with other one created earlier for one of our LODs. I will make it a single user and change end face of its name for LOD3. Now I'll just replace textures that are here with those with billboard in name. During this activity I noticed that specular requires to change its color space to non-color. Everything in this material is set correctly now, so I copy it to the rest of LOD3 objects. So I have all LODs set, and you can see in statistics that each subsequent higher LOD representative has less triangles, what means that its geometry is less dense. Now I will create new collection for all LODs. Due to INS instructions I will call it ribbon grass, and I will place all LODs collections in it. There's one more thing to do. If I open item info, you can see that rotation and scale aren't applied. So I select all objects, press Ctrl A and choose rotation and scale. Before scattering our assets, I will set camera position and hide LODs collection. Now I choose INS grass from sidebar menu, pick emitter and choose preset. I recommend to choose one of clamps types because their lower density will fit our ribbon grass better. I choose CL201 and press Add Grass. To add our imported assets, I go to LODs section, where I can choose proper ribbon grass LOD collection from menu, but it is easier to just drag and drop them. Next, I will adjust scales for specific LODs and make a quick test. You can see that LOD switches properly when I'm changing focal length of active camera. Shape modification also works well, but there are some problems with billboards. If I will hide other LODs, you can see that wind effect only rotates them instead of bending, because there is no geometry to bend. Now I will increase density for viewport display and adjust LOD scale bit more to show other problem related with billboards, which will be visible on render preview. So I have these ugly black spots, and if I zoom in on this area, you can see that these are billboards. This issue is caused by insufficient max bounces for transparency, what I can increase in Light Paths tab located in Render Properties menu. Changing this value from 8 to 32 removed black spots, but it also increased render time. I will try a value of 16, and black areas appeared again. There is a way to improve this situation, but I will have to work a bit more on my billboards. So I have them here, and if I switch to material preview, you can see that there is a lot of unnecessary transparent areas that needs to be calculated during rendering. To reduce those areas, I will first subdivide all billboards geometry twice. Then I isolate first object, and to better see opaque areas, I find opacity texture in LOD-free material and use Node Wrangler add-on to preview it. Then I go into edit mode with vertex mode active, and I use vertices slide to reduce transparent areas. To slide vertices, press Shift plus V, and if you want to slide outside, hold Alt key. I finished the first one, so I go to the next one and repeat editing. This is what all my billboards look like now. Thanks to sliding vertices, I was able to get rid of many unnecessary transparent areas. In camera view you can see new billboard shapes, and if I will go to render preview, there are no black spots, even though the number of transparent bounces is still 16. Increasing billboard's geometry density fixed the issue with shape modification, so now wind effect bends them instead of only rotating. So basically everything works now, but on render preview you can see that all instances are uniformly green, and coloring changes within the add-on menu do not affect them. I could easily fix this by copying INS Color node group for CL201 small clumps grass from its material and pasting it into every ribbon grass LOD material behind albedo texture. But this would work only inside this file. That's why it is better to create preset for ribbon grass with material set in a way that the coloring will work in every project where ribbon grass will be added. To create this preset, I will copy my ribbon grass collection name, then I will press Save Preset icon, paste my name, and press Save Preset button. And now if I choose Saved, newly created ribbon grass preset is on the list. But there is no LODs file created for this preset, so it will not work. Before creating LODs file, I will save this project. It is best to save it in folder which is not defined as INS Grass LODs files storage. I named it for creating ribbon grass preset. In new empty Blender file I choose Scene Collection, then go to File and press Append. Now I'm looking for the file I just saved. In my case it's for creating ribbon grass preset. I double click it, inside I choose Collection, then ribbon grass and press Append. And I have ribbon grass LODs here. Before saving this project as LOD file for ribbon grass preset, I have to include one more element into material. This element is located in INS Grass add-on folder, whose path can be found in INS Grass tab. I will append it now. So I'm in Add-ons folder, where I go into INS Grass, then into Assets, where I'm looking for INS Grass Color Blend file. I double click it, and inside it I go into Node 3 folder. I select INS Color and press Append button. Now I select LOD0 object to work with LOD0 material, and in Shader Editor I add group called INS Color, the one I just appended. I plug it in behind albedo map. With INS color group selected, I open sidebar, go to Node tab and change name from group to INS_settings. Now I copy this group and paste it to remaining LODs materials, plugging it in like before, behind albedo texture. After deleting unneeded collection, I'm ready to save this LODs file. I will save it in my custom LODs folder, and you can see that my file structure is set like in instructions. So I go to File, Save As, I find my custom LODs folder and save my file as ribbongrass, so its name fits saved preset name. Okay, let's test it. In the newly opened file I choose Saved filter, then I choose the ribbongrass preset, select an emitter and press Add Grass button. And the ribbongrass is here. Now I will go to camera view and switch to render preview. You can see that smaller instances are dry now, and there are those black spots caused by billboards, so I will increase transparent bounces. And the black spots are gone. Smaller instances have more dry color, what means that coloring works, but to be sure I will test it a bit more. First I will test dryness, and it works. Then I will check color ramps. I will change this orange color to blue. It also works, so I will just undo this. You can see that I have some less dense areas which I will use as reference to set density for this preset. I will be working on viewport display, whose value I will increase from 25 to 50% of the actual density. Just a quick tip, you can have other INS grass menu opened in another 3D viewport. So with viewport display set at 0.5, areas that was less dense before look much better now. To have this amount of instances on render, I will have to divide overall density by 2. Now I will switch to viewport shading to speed up Blender responsiveness. First I reduce viewport display to 1%, so this preset will load faster when adding to other projects. Then I decrease overall density to 250. After this I press Save Preset icon, check Overwrite Existing Preset and Save Preset. Now I will open new file. And if I will add ribbongrass preset, it has new settings in it. Right now ribbongrass preset has no preview image, but if you would like to add one, there is a video on this channel showing how to do this. That's all, thank you for watching and goodbye.